The Echo Chamber, Chapter 1. The Unquiet Grave. The rain lashed against Leo Vance's office window, mimicking the relentless drumming inside his skull. 5 years. 5 years since the night's shattered glass and his wife's final choked gasp tore his world apart. Detective Leo Vance became investigator. Leo Vance, trading his badge for the murky waters of private cases, chasing shadows where the police saw only dead ends. Sarah's murder remained a gaping wound, a cold case file gathering dust. Its only evidence a single chilling detail, a small, intricately carved ivory chess piece, a knight, left beside her body. Leo kept its photograph pinned to his corkboard, a constant accusatory reminder. His current case file lay open, Thomas Bellwether, venture capitalist, missing 72 hours. Bellwether's wife, Eleanor, a woman sculpted from ice and desperation, had hired him, convinced the police weren't taking her husband's disappearance seriously. He wouldn't just vanish, Mr. Vance, not before closing the Viridian deal. It's worth billions. Leo sighed, rubbing the perpetual stubble on his jaw. Missing persons were rarely simple, often messy, sometimes tragic. He was about to dive into Bellwether's financials when his phone buzzed, an unknown number. Instinct, owned sharp by years of chasing phantoms, made him answer. Vance Investigations. Silence. Then a voice, digitally distorted, flat and metallic. The game resumes. Check the pawn. Leo froze. Who is this? What game? The board is set. Knight takes pawn. Remember Echo Bay. The line went dead. The derelict Marina District. Sarah's case. The knight. His blood turned to ice water. This wasn't about Bellwether. This was a direct hit, aimed at him, using the ghost of his wife as ammunition. The carved knight on his board seemed to gleam malevolently. Someone knew. Someone was playing. And Leo, despite the dread coiling in his gut, knew he couldn't ignore the move. The game, dormant for 5 years, was terrifyingly back on. Chapter 2. The Pawn's Gambit. Echo Bay was a graveyard of rotting wood and rusted metal, the skeletal remains of piers jutting into the oily, rain-pocked water. The stench of decay and brine hung thick. The pawn the caller mentioned? Leo found him within the hour, guided by a frantic call diverted from the precinct to his phone. A rookie beat cop, pale and shaken, had stumbled upon the scene in Warehouse 7. Thomas Bellwether wasn't missing anymore. He was posed, sitting upright in a rusted office chair, facing the bay doors as if awaiting a ship that would never come. His throat was slit, a clean professional cut. And clutched in his stiffening right hand, held out like an offering, was another ivory chess piece. Not a knight. A pawn. Identical carving style. The same cold, smooth ivory. Leo's breath hitched. This was confirmation. The distorted voice, Sarah's killer, Bellwether. They were connected. But how? Why drag Bellwether into this nightmare? Why leave him the pawn? Eleanor Bellwether arrived, escorted by a grim-faced Detective Novak. Her ice cracked. She crumpled, a raw sob escaping as she saw her husband. Novak, a weary veteran with eyes that missed nothing, pulled Leo aside. "Vance! Fancy meeting you here before the official invite. Care to share how you knew?" Leo showed him the call log, the distorted number. "They mentioned Echo Bay. Mentioned the pawn." "They knew about Sarah's case, Novak. The knight." Novak's expression darkened. "That detail was never public, Leo. Never." His gaze was heavy with unspoken suspicion. The chess piece, Leo's deepest, most personal wound, was now evidence pointing back at him. The game wasn't just back. Leo was being maneuvered onto the board, designated as the pawn. Chapter 3. Patterns in Blood. The Bellwether murder scene yielded little. No fingerprints beyond the victims and the unfortunate officer who found him. No murder weapon. Just the ivory pawn, now bagged as evidence, and the chilling precision of the kill. Leo studied the crime scene photos back in his cramped office, the pawn's image side by side with the knight from Sarah's scene. Identical craftsmanship. The same unknown artist. The killer's signature. His investigation into Bellwether hit walls. His finances were labyrinthine but seemingly clean. The Viridian deal? A revolutionary quantum computing project. Bellwether was key, but rivals seemed legitimate, motivated by profit. Not this. His personal life? Eleanor was devastated, alibis checked out. A mistress? Discreet but heartbroken, with no violent tendencies. Dead end. Frustration gnawed at Leo. He felt watched. Paranoia, a familiar companion since Sarah's death, tightened its grip. He scanned reflections in shop windows, jumped at sudden noises. The distorted voice didn't call again. Silence was worse. Then, a breakthrough. Cross-referencing cold cases involving unusual objects or posing, Leo found two. Martha Crenshaw, art dealer, strangled, found with a small carved ivory rook beside her 2 years ago. David Finch, retired judge, poisoned, an ivory bishop on his desk, 18 months ago. Different cities, different victims. Different apparent motives. No connection, except the chess pieces, the same style, the same silent, deadly game. Leo's heart hammered. This wasn't just about Sarah or even Bellwether. This was a serial killer. A meticulous patient predator playing a long, elaborate game across years, using unique ivory chess pieces as his markers. Sarah was the knight, Bellwether the pawn, Crenshaw the rook, Finch the bishop. The board was far larger, far more terrifying than he'd imagined. And the killer was signaling Leo, dragging him deeper into the nightmare. Why? What role did Leo play in this monstrous game? Chapter 4, The Queen's Shadow. The chessboard analogy consumed Leo. He mapped the known victims: knight Sarah, rook Crenshaw, bishop Finch, pawn Bellwether. The killer was eliminating specific pieces. Who were the king and queen? Who was the opponent? And where did he fit? He focused on the Viridian deal Bellwether was closing. Quantum computing. Cutting-edge, potentially world-altering technology. Was that the prize? He dug deeper, bypassing official channels with old contacts. Viridian's lead scientist was Dr. Eris Thorne, a reclusive genius. Thorne's background was opaque, heavily redacted. Military contracts, private funding? Whispers suggested Viridian's project wasn't just about computing speed. It was about manipulating complex systems, financial markets, security grids, even memories. Leo dismissed the last as sci-fi paranoia, but the secrecy was real. He needed to see Thorne. Getting an appointment was impossible. Thorne vanished into his fortified lab complex. Leo staked it out. High walls, biometric scanners, armed patrols, paranoia incarnate. While watching, he noticed a woman. Dr. Alina Rostova, Thorne's protege and rumored heir apparent. She moved with a quiet confidence, often leaving late, less guarded. Leo intercepted her at a late-night coffee shop near the lab. She was wary, intelligent eyes assessing him. Dr. Rostova? Leo Vance? I'm investigating Thomas Bellwether's murder. Her composure flickered. A tragedy? But I have nothing to add. Security handles all external contacts. Bellwether was securing funding for Viridian. His death jeopardizes everything. Did he have enemies within the project? She stirred her coffee, avoiding his gaze. Viridian attracts attention, powerful interests. Bellwether understood the risks. He believed in the work. She paused, then met his eyes. There was fear there, carefully controlled. Mr. Vance, some games are too dangerous to play. Some players, they don't follow the rules. They erase them. She stood abruptly. Leave it alone, for your own sake. She left, leaving Leo with a chilling phrase and the distinct impression she knew far more than she said. Was Elena Rostova a potential victim, the queen, or something else entirely? Chapter 5, The Knight's Fall Midway Twist. Pressure mounted. Novak, under orders, brought Leo in for formal questioning. The chess piece connection, Leo's prior knowledge of Echo Bay, his proximity to Bellwether's case, it looked bad. Novak wasn't accusing, but the system was turning its gaze on Leo. Give me something, Leo! Anything solid! This chess angle, it's thin, and it circles back to you. Desperate, Leo returned to the one place he'd avoided for years. The reconstructed file of Sarah's murder. He pored over every detail, every photograph, the coroner's report, witness statements, few and useless, the broken window, the position of her body, the ivory knight on the floor beside her outstretched hand. Then he saw it. Something he'd missed, something his grief had blinded him to, something the initial investigation had dismissed. In the crime scene photo, partially obscured by Sarah's sleeve, a smear on the hardwood floor. Dark, almost black. Not blood. It hadn't been tested properly back then, deemed irrelevant debris. Now, with Bellwether's case fresh, Leo recognized it. Engine grease. Specific, high-grade marine engine grease. He'd been restoring an old Chris Craft speedboat in his garage that year, a project Sarah teased him about endlessly. He'd spent the afternoon before her murder working on it. That grease, it was his grease. On the floor of the room where she died, a wave of nausea hit him. Fragmented memories surged, jagged and terrifying. Coming home late, the sound of breaking glass, a struggle, a figure in the dark. Sarah's cry, rage, blinding, uncontrollable rage. Then blackness. He'd always assumed the blackout was trauma, shock. What if it wasn't? What if he'd fought? What if... The thought was monstrous. Impossible. He loved Sarah. He'd spent 5 years hunting her killer, but his grease, at the scene, the killer had never been found. No forensic traces left behind except the night. Except, could he have left the night? In some fugue state? A psychotic break? The distorted voice's words echoed. Night takes pawn. Remember Echo Bay. Night takes pawn. Sarah, the night. Had she taken a pawn? Was he the pawn? Had Sarah discovered something about him? Something terrible? Had he killed her in a blackout rage, triggered by her discovery, and then suppressed the entire memory? Had the killer all these years not been an external monster, but a part of himself he'd locked away? The Bellwether murder? The other victims? Were they staged by his fractured psyche? Was he the serial killer? The world tilted. Leo gripped the edge of his desk, gasping. The foundation of his last 5 years, his entire identity as a seeker of justice, crumbled into dust. He wasn't the investigator. He was the monster. Chapter 6, Fractured Mirror. The revelation was a physical blow. Leo spent hours locked in his office, blinds drawn, wrestling with the abyss inside his own mind. Was it possible? Could he have murdered Sarah and blocked it out? The grease stain was damning, but circumstantial. The blackout, terrifyingly plausible. But the other victims? Crenshaw, Finch, Bellwether? He had alibis, shaky but present, for their times of death. Could his mind fracture so completely? Create an elaborate delusion of an external killer while his body committed atrocities? He needed proof. He needed to know what triggered him. He revisited Dr. Rostova, this time bypassing subtlety, confronting her outside the Viridian complex at dawn. He looked wrecked. She recoiled slightly. Dr. Rostova, Viridian, quantum computing, neural mapping, memory manipulation. Tell me the truth! Could your technology, could it cause blackouts, suppress memories, create alternate personalities? His voice was raw. She paled, glancing around nervously. Mr. Vance, that's highly speculative. Theoretical applications. Bellwether is dead, others are dead, and I think I might be involved. The words tore out of him. Shock registered on her face, then dawning horror. She pulled him into a secluded alley. Listen to me. What you're suggesting, it's not our technology, but it exists. A black project. Codename Echo Chamber. It wasn't just mapping, Mr. Vance. It was about implantation. Subtle suggestion, memory editing. Leo felt cold. Who? Who developed it? Officially? Cancelled years ago after unethical trials. Unofficially, the lead researcher vanished. Dr. Alistair Croft. Brilliant. Unhinged. He believed in using Echo Chamber to correct flawed minds, eliminate threats before they acted, or to create perfect, controllable assets. She gripped his arm. If Croft is involved, if he used Echo Chamber on you, implanted the idea of Sarah's infidelity or something worse, triggered that rage. The implications were staggering. What if his blackout rage, the murderous impulse, wasn't wholly his own? What if it had been planted? The killer wasn't just him. It was him weaponized. Chapter 7, The Bishop's Move. The name Alistair Croft was a ghost. Leo's contacts found traces. A brilliant neuroscientist dismissed from a prestigious institute a decade ago for unethical experiments involving sensory deprivation and suggestion. Rumors placed him in private, off-the-books research funded by shadowy entities. Then, nothing. He'd vanished. Novak called. Vance, we found something. On Bellwether's encrypted cloud drive. Financials looked clean. But there was a hidden partition. Payments. Large regular sums. To a shell company. Traced it back to a holding firm owned by David Finch's estate. The retired judge, the Bishop victim. Leo's mind raced. Finch was involved? Paying whom? Croft? Finch was paying someone through Bellwether? For what? Looks like Bellwether was funneling money. The ultimate recipient is buried deep, but the pattern... Finch was bankrolling something big. And the payments stopped abruptly a month before Finch died. Novak paused. There's more. Finch's personal notes. Coded, but we cracked some. He mentions EC repeatedly. And the director. He was scared, Leo. Felt he was losing control of his investment. He mentions cleaning the board. Finch wasn't just a victim. He was a player. The Bishop funding the game? Funding Croft and Echo Chamber? And he'd been killed when he tried to back out. Who was the director? Croft? Or someone else? The board was even more complex. Finch, Bishop funding the operation. Bellwether, pawn acting as banker. Crenshaw, rook. What was her role? Art dealer? Money laundering? Sarah, knight? How did she fit in? What had she discovered? Leo realized Rostova was right. He was playing a game orchestrated years ago. His own mind potentially a battleground. He needed to find Croft. He needed to find the heart of Echo Chamber. Chapter 8. The breakthrough came from Martha Crenshaw's past. Leo discovered a forgotten link. A decade ago, before her art gallery, Crenshaw managed finances for a small, private biomedical research foundation. The director? Dr. Alistair Croft. She was the rook, a financial conduit, likely laundering Finch's money into Croft's research. She knew too much, became a liability. Tracking Croft's potential locations led Leo to a disused water treatment plant on the city's outskirts. A place with heavy infrastructure, perfect for power-hungry, clandestine tech. It matched the profile. He went in alone at night, driven by a desperate need for answers and the terrifying possibility of confronting the architect of his torment. The plant was a cavernous, dripping labyrinth of concrete and rusted pipes. He moved silently, flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. He found it in a sealed sublevel. It wasn't a machine. It was a room. Hexagonal, walls lined with sound-absorbing material and complex neural sensor arrays. In the center, a reclining chair resembling a dentist's nightmare, studded with electrodes and restraints. Banks of humming servers lined one wall. This was where minds were rewritten. He searched the adjacent control room. Logs, patient files. His blood ran cold. He found his own name. Subject, Leo Vance. Protocol, Nightfall. Initiation date, 6 weeks before Sarah's murder. Sessions logged during his boat restoration project. Notes. Subject exhibits strong moral core, deep attachment to primary relationship, Sarah Vance, target vulnerability, perceived betrayal, implanted narrative, evidence of infidelity discovered, stage 1. Trigger, confrontation sequence, stage 2. Rage amplification successful. Memory suppression protocol, Nightfall, engaged post-event. Croft hadn't just implanted the rage trigger. He'd fabricated the entire scenario that led to Sarah's death. He'd turned Leo into his unwitting assassin. Sarah died because Croft made Leo kill her. The grief, the guilt, the 5-year hunt, all manipulated. Fury, pure and volcanic, surged through Leo. He wasn't just a pawn. He was a puppet. His grief was a lie manufactured by a monster. He heard a soft click behind him. Fascinating, isn't it? The voice was cultured, calm, devoid of distortion. Leo spun. Standing in the doorway, holding a sleek, silenced pistol, was Dr. Elena Rostova. Her usual cool composure was replaced by a chilling serenity. The elegance of Echo Chamber. Not just erasure, Mr. Vance. Creation! We sculpted your guilt, your drive, the perfect engine for our needs. Chapter 9. The Director's Gambit. Leo stared, shock freezing him momentarily. Rostova? You're the director? But you warned me! A cold smile touched her lips. Of course I did. To gauge your progress, to see if the Nightfall protocol held or if you were unraveling prematurely. You performed admirably. Your guilt, your desperate search, it kept you focused. Kept you digging into Finch, into Bellwether, conveniently tying up loose ends for us. The pieces slammed together with brutal clarity. Finch funded Croft. Croft developed Echo Chamber. You took over? Croft was brilliant but unstable, paranoid. He saw subjects, not strategy. Finch grew nervous, wanted out. Bellwether, our useful idiot banker, was getting cold feet too. Martha Crenshaw knew too much about the old funding flows. She gestured with the gun. We needed a cleaner. Someone motivated, deniable, and utterly trapped by their own psyche. You, Mr. Vance! Our knight. Programmed to eliminate threats to the project triggered by specific cues related to Echo Chamber's secrets. Leo felt sick. You triggered me to kill Sarah? Why? What did she know? Rostova's smile vanished. Sarah Vance was brilliant in her own right, a cognitive psychologist. She stumbled onto early trial data Croft carelessly left accessible. She recognized the potential for abuse. She was going to expose it. We couldn't allow that. Croft proposed Nightfall. Turn her greatest protector into her executioner. Poetic, don't you think? And it bound you to us forever through your manufactured guilt. And the others? The calls? The chess pieces? Maintenance, Finch, Bellwether, Crenshaw, loose ends you were programmed to perceive as threats to your investigation into Sarah's death, which was really an investigation into us. The chess pieces? Croft's theatrics. We continued it to guide you, to keep you playing your part, the call leading you to Bellwether, ensuring you'd be implicated. The pawn was a message to you. You were always the expendable piece. She raised the pistol. But the board is nearly clear. Viridian is almost ready for its true purpose, not just memory editing, but large-scale behavioral influence. And you, Mr. Vance, our tragic knight, are the final loose end. Your suicide, consumed by guilt after killing your wife and those unfortunate others, it will be a tidy conclusion. Chapter 10, Endgame, Final Twist. Rostova's finger tightened on the trigger. Leo stood frozen, the weight of her betrayal and the monstrous truth crushing him. He wasn't a killer by nature, but a weapon forged by Rostova and Croft. His grief, his purpose, his very sanity, all fabrications of the echo chamber. Suddenly, a high-pitched whine filled the room. The server banks behind Rostova sparked violently. Lights flickered and died, plunging the control room into near darkness, illuminated only by the eerie glow of dying server LEDs and Leo's dropped flashlight. Rostova flinched, momentarily distracted. It was the only opening Leo needed. Years of pent-up rage, grief, and the primal need for survival exploded. He lunged, not for the gun, but for Rostova herself, tackling her low and hard. They crashed into a server rack. The gun skittered away into the darkness. They grappled on the cold floor. Rostova fighting with surprising strength and vicious, trained precision. She clawed at his eyes, tried to knee his groin. Leo absorbed the blows, driven by a fury that eclipsed pain. He pinned her, his hands finding her throat. "Why?" he rasped, the word thick with anguish and rage. "Why Sarah? Why me?" Rostova choked, her eyes wide with fear now, not calculation. "Necessary. Sacrifice. Viridian. Power." She gasped. Leo squeezed. The image of Sarah, the life stolen, the years of torment, Rostova's cold admission. It flooded him. He wanted her to pay. He wanted to erase her like she'd erased his life. But then, cutting through the red haze, a different memory surfaced. Not implanted. Real. Sarah's voice, gentle but firm, years ago after he'd lost his temper over something trivial. "Leo, the rage, it's not you. Don't let it win. Choose." The word echoed in the chaos of his mind. Rostova had made him a killer. Croft had programmed him for violence. But in this moment, the choice was still his. Killing Rostova in cold blood, that would make him exactly what they'd crafted him to be. It wouldn't bring Sarah back. It wouldn't cleanse his soul. It would just complete their design. With a shuddering gasp that felt like tearing his own heart out, Leo released his grip on Rostova's throat. He rolled off her, scrambling back, his breath ragged, his body trembling with the effort of stopping himself. Rostova coughed violently, gasping for air, staring at him with utter disbelief. "Fool!" she wheezed. "Sentimental fool!" Leo ignored her, crawling towards where he thought the gun had fallen. He had to stop her, expose Viridian, but not like this. He found the cold metal just as emergency lights flickered on, casting long, distorted shadows. He pointed the gun at Rostova, who was struggling to sit up, her hand reaching inside her lab coat. "Don't move," Leo commanded, his voice raw but steady. She froze, then slowly withdrew her hand. Not a weapon, a small, sleek remote device. A cruel smile touched her bruised lips. "Too late, Knight. Checkmate." She pressed a button. Not an explosion, not an alarm. A low, resonant hum filled the hexagonal echo chamber room visible through the open doorway. The electrodes on the central chair glowed faintly blue. "What did you do?" Leo demanded, keeping the gun trained. "Contingency," Rostova rasped, massaging her throat. "You were never the only asset." Vance. Nightfall was crude. Later protocols were refined. Remote activation. A failsafe. She nodded towards the chamber. "Subject, Dr. Eris Thorne." Leo's blood ran cold. "Thorne? The reclusive genius? Rostova's mentor?" Thorne grew conscientious, Rostova sneered. Started questioning Viridian's military applications. Started talking about ethics, a liability. She tapped the remote. "This implants a simple high-priority command. Upon awakening, he will walk to his private terminal and initiate the Arachne Protocol. Viridian's true masterpiece, not memory editing, network assimilation. It will latch onto global financial systems, communication grids, infrastructure controls, and lock them down. Absolute control, held for ransom by me." She smiled triumphantly. "You stopped me, Vance? You stopped nothing. In moments, Thorne becomes my puppet, and the world becomes my chessboard. Your sacrifice, Sarah's sacrifice, all for this. And you're just a ghost haunting a graveyard of your own making. Put the gun down. You've lost." Leo stared at the humming chamber, at Thorne's still form in the chair, at Rostova's victorious expression. The game was indeed over. Rostova had moved her final piece. The king was in check. But Rostova had forgotten one crucial rule. A cornered king could still be dangerous. And Leo Vance had nothing left to lose. He didn't lower the gun. He shifted his aim slightly. Not at Rostova. Not at the chamber. He aimed at the humming server bank against the wall, the core processing unit for the echo chamber system, and presumably the receiver for Rostova's remote command. "You're right," Leo said, his voice eerily calm. "I am a ghost. And ghosts, they don't play by the rules either." He pulled the trigger. Once, twice, 3 times. The silenced gun spat quietly. Sparks erupted from the server bank. Lights flickered wildly. The hum from the echo chamber sputtered, rose to a shriek, and died abruptly. The blue glow on the electrodes vanished. The remote in Rostova's hand blinked and went dark. Rostova's triumphant smile vanished, replaced by sheer, unadulterated horror. "No! What have you done?" she screamed, scrambling towards the dead servers. Leo kept the gun trained on her. "I didn't stop Thorn," he said, exhaustion and a strange, hollow victory warring within him. "I stopped you. The Arachne protocol dies here, with Thorn, with your machines." He gestured towards the silent chamber. "Your king is safe, Rostova, but your queen, she just lost the game." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, Novak tracing Leo's frantic earlier call. Rostova slumped against the dead servers, her face a mask of utter devastation, her grand design shattered by the very broken pawn she thought she controlled. Leo Vance lowered the gun, the ghost of a smile touching his lips, not of joy but of grim finality. The echo chamber was silent. The game, finally, was over. He had chosen, and for the first time in 5 years, the choice, devastating as it was, felt entirely his own. The path ahead was ruinous, stained with blood and manipulated grief, but it was real. He turned towards the approaching sirens, ready to face the consequences of both the monster he'd been made into and the man he had chosen to become. The board was cleared not by victory, but by annihilation.